I kept asking them to mute their thing, and they refused to, and we kept getting feedback.
Worse when you have two people saying that you're trying to do a presentation and you're like, no, somebody has to mute, you has to be on somebody else's computer.
But you used to call over the radio. Yes, you can have the radio on and talk to the media. And I'll make it myself.
Good evening. We'd like to call the meeting to order.
How about pledge allegiance?
Let's start with a pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now have solicitor announcements.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to go through the typical admonitions about public participation as we only have attorneys in the room right now. If anybody does show up, I'll go through the instructions at that time. The board did meet in an executive session prior to this evening's meeting to discuss questions of law and receive legal advice. The other announcement we'd like to make at the previous August meeting, we announced a change in date for the November meeting. That has been rescinded. The board will meet on the previously scheduled regular November meeting date, which is the fourth Tuesday, which is November 26th at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Building Council room. And I think that's all we have.
Let's open with application 9-1 of 24, State and Lansdowne Associates, care of Craftco Company LLC, 1884 South State Road in Upper Darby, PA. It's a C2 commercial district in the 3rd Council District. Requesting for a 1-year extension of variances granted as application number 9-1 of 23.
Good evening, everyone. Amy Farrell with Kaplan Stewart. We are the attorneys for the applicant. As the chairwoman just summarized, this is simply a request for an extension of existing zoning relief. The board granted that relief by decision November 2nd of 2023. We are in the midst of land development. There are, as you know, this is the former gas station at the corner of State, which has some, let's say, environmental challenges as a result of the removal of the tanks. So there's some cleanup associated with that has to be closed out while we go through the land development process. So it's just taking a bit longer than land development might typically take. Our land development application is in, and we are scheduled for a planning commission meeting in October. So we're anticipating that by the end of this year or the beginning of next, we'll be through all of those outside agency approvals, which include the DEP closeout, the PennDOT approvals, et cetera, and we'll be able to finalize land development. So we're just looking for an extension of the zoning relief we requested a year just because it seems like that's sort of how typically the township has done it in 1-year increments. That would bring us to November of next year, and we're quite comfortable at that point that we would have more than enough time to finalize land development.
We'll just note a couple of things for the record. One, we'll have no request for party status as no one's here. We'll mark the typical exhibits of ZHB1 as the application packet, ZHB2 as notice photos, and ZHB3 as proof of publication for this application. And then just as advisory of the board, it is a bit of a quirk in our ordinance that variance expiration, special exception expiration is based on the issuance of building permits. So when they're in the land development process, which can take some time, the variance relief will expire if they don't get to the building permit stage. The submission of a land development plan does not secure the variance relief.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Oh, we're just going to note for public comment. I don't think, sir, you're not going to make any public comment, right? So we'll just note that there's no public comment on this application. Now we can take motions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll We'll
Have a good one.
We'll issue a decision memorializing the relief within 45 days.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Chair, I think it would make sense, since we're waiting on 8.3, to move to 8.5. Would you like me to just read the notice? So we don't need to reference the notice. This is application 8.5 of 24 for 732 Garrett Road. This hearing was requesting a variance from section 558B to permit 3 permitted principal uses where only 1 permitted principal use is permitted. It's a lot of pick the peck of pickled peppers. We'll note that the testimony was taken at the August hearing and the hearing was closed at that time. The board chose not to vote and continued this matter for the vote only to this evening. We'll note that at the time, in addition to Ms. Woodard and Mr. Gwynn, Mr. Bertle was present and heard testimony as a seated board member. He is not present tonight, but Mr. McIntyre was present for the entirety of the hearing and has been seated this evening as a voting member and will participate in the vote in this application. We'll also note for the record that the applicant's counsel is present. Sir, is there anything, we've closed the record and we're just going to proceed to the vote unless there's something you would like to share with the board.
The applicant has no additional information. Thank you.
Thank you. The board has asked me to put a motion on the floor or on the table on their behalf. The motion will be for a partial approval of the requested variances to permit 1 additional permitted principal use for a total of 2 principal permitted uses on the property. The additional permitted use shall be permitted with the following conditions: that the proposed restaurant use be utilized as a sit-down restaurant with no bar or bar service, and that the hours be limited to or restricted to close by 12 a.m. on each day of the week. And the board would also like to advise that the partial denial for the 3rd permitted use on the 2nd floor is without prejudice, and the board will entertain a request for a variance at the time that the property owner or other equitable owner identifies a specific use for that floor. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to have this approved.
Second.
So moved.
Let's call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay.
Thank you for your time and attention. We appreciate your involvement.
And as always, we'll issue a written decision within 40. Actually, we'll probably, I believe you gave us an extension at the last hearing to issue a decision within 45 days of this evening. So we will stick to that timeline, but it most likely will have a decision issued in advance of that 45-day deadline.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next application is Gwendolyn 8.3 of 24. Gwendolyn M. Richardson, 27 East Township Line Road of Upper Darby, PA. It's a C1 commercial district in the 4th Council District. Asking for a variance from section 558A to permit a dwelling unit, and B, variance from section 558B to permit more than 1 permitted principal use.
Good evening, Ms. Richardson. Before you begin, the board's going to note for the record that there are, I believe the other 2 people in the audience are with you, correct?
Yes.
So there will be no request for, you can put stuff down if you want, no request for party status on this application, and the board will enter the following exhibits. ZHB 1 will be the application packet, ZHB 2 will be the notice photos, and ZHB 3 will be the proof of publication. If we can ask that Ms. Richardson be sworn in at this time.
Yes, I do.
And just to confirm with the zoning officer, we do have notice photos for this application, right?
Yes, and if they're not posted, they will be shortly.
All right, that's fine.
Do you understand?
No. Ms. Richardson, I just want to confirm, because we did continue this from the previous hearing, have you, and I know that, I'm guessing these are your parents behind you?
Yes.
And what are their names?
Patricia and Willie Richardson?
And they're the legal owners of the property?
Yes.
Have you all, I know there was some question last time that you would potentially be having your name added to the deed. Has that occurred?
No, the lawyer would have needed several other things to get that done.
Okay. Do you mind if we swear in one of your parents at least? I don't know who. Okay, Miss Patricia, we can have you sworn in. You don't have to stand up. You're good. I'm just going to ask you one question on the record.
Yes. Patricia Richardson.
Miss Patricia, are you authorizing your daughter to present this application on your behalf as the owner of the property at 27 Township Line Road?
Yes.
All right. Miss Richardson, or Miss Gwendolyn, just so I'm not confusing anybody, can you
Okay.
please proceed with presenting your application? Tell us a little bit about the property, what you'd like to do, and why you'd like to do it.
Okay, I do have some handouts with the pictures
That'd be great.
of the building and the parking lot and all the relevant stuff. Sorry, ran out of staples.
Oh, that's okay. You can just hand them up to me.
Okay.
They're really big. These are packets. Okay, great. We'll just pass these down then. We will mark these collectively, in the interest of time, collectively as A1 as applicants' exhibits.
Okay, the first page is a picture of the front of the building, and then on page 5, you have a overhead picture of the building with the parking lot. And you can see there's ample parking. You can get 15 to 20 cars in the parking lot.
Can I back you up for just a second?
Mhm.
What are you planning on, what's the current use of the property and what are you
Oh.
planning to do with it?
Okay, it was 3 floors, 3 units, all were commercial. We used it for, my father had a Christian family counseling and workshop company there. And at one time, my brother owned a cleaning business there. They've all moved to other buildings. The workshop and counseling business has moved to the church.
And so what are you proposing takes place in the building going forward?
So we rented out the building to a company called, and that is on page, should have had a table of contents.
That's okay.
The first,
This is the lease. or the
technically
agreement.
17.
Okay.
Opioid Crisis Action Network Recovery Fund. They want to use the 2 floors still as commercial to do yoga classes, counseling, to help people who are in the middle of, well, transitioning back into regular life, job counseling, helping them get back into society. But on the 3rd floor, the owners of this group live on the Jersey Shore. So it takes them 2 hours to drive in actually it took them 2.5 the other day because of traffic to drive in from their house. So we're going to turn the 3rd floor into an apartment that they can stay in.
All right. If you want to continue through your packet explaining the property, I think we were on page 5 about the parking lot.
Yeah,
and the
so
number
there's
of
plenty of
spaces.
parking. The other thing you can see on page
And
5.
how many spaces did you say were?
15 to 22, depending on how wide the spaces are. So there's 10 where you can see the 2 cars parked there. You can get 10 there, and then you can get 5 parked similarly on the other side. And then I tend to park like right up next to the door, and then 2 more cars can park next to the building.
And I'm just going to ask the zoning officer a question. Have we looked at this for a combination of commercial and a single residential unit and would meet the parking requirements with, let's say, at least 10 spaces?
It would depend on the size of, it's gonna depend on the size and each specific use. But that would be something we would check in the permit stages.
Okay.
Once this was applied for.
What's our requirement for commercial?
Sure.
Is it 1 per 250?
So. What's the,
Square footage.
so the commercial depends on, what kind of commercial it is. So it's either gonna be 1 per
Office?
250 or 1 per 200. Just need to get to.
And this is a 2,500 square foot building, Ms. Richardson?
I'm sorry, say that
The
again?
2,500 square foot building, I think page 2.
Page, thank you. Page 2,
I'm sorry, page 1.
yeah, I was gonna say, no, not page.
It's the second page.
Yeah,
that's
25, 2,542 square feet.
And could I ask, what's the size of the condo up top? What would the rough square footage of that be?
Missing, divide that by 3.
5 by 3.
What? Oh, okay. What'd you say to
Math
me?
is not my forte.
Do you know how many bedrooms you're?
One.
1.
1 bedroom, 1 bath, a laundry closet. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get to that page. That is page. Page 12 and 13.
Sorry I had to jump around. I'm just trying to streamline the process here for you.
Yeah.
So, and you said the previous use was office?
It was 3 office units.
Okay,
Now we want to take the top unit and change it to an apartment.
okay. Me too.
1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment.
So offices are 1 per 300, so,
Oh, okay. 1 per 300?
yeah, so this is actually probably gonna be less parking.
All
right.
So if there's 10 spaces, there's plenty of parking. Maybe 15
It would at least be less than what's required now, which would grant it.
under that provision we discussed last time. All right. If you want to continue going through whatever else you'd like to, or go through the
Well,
packet.
it might be easier if you ask the questions, because I did an AI search and I was going to do it that way, but it would be faster if you just ask the questions.
Does the board mind if I ask questions?
Nope.
Okay. So I know you talked about page 5 of A1, your packet shows anywhere between 10 and 20 spaces, which I think we've just determined is sufficient. Page 6, that looks like it's showing, these are listing photos of the property that show the existing commercial layout of the building. Okay. Same with, looks like 8 and 9 are the same. I see that there are some real estate brokerage developed traffic counts on page 10. Maybe 11. And then can you describe for us what page 12 is? Is this an
Okay.
estimate for the work being
So
done?
this is the, forgot the technical name for it, but basically this is what they want to do to the 3rd floor. And I highlighted in green the 3rd floor things because some of them got a little confused. The laundry was supposed to go on the 3rd floor, not the 2nd floor, so.
Okay, so this is the investment that the tenants are looking to make in the property for the
No,
conversion.
we're making it.
You're making it.
Normally the tenant would,
Okay.
but my father brought that building to help people, and this was a group that needed to help people, but they didn't have the money to renovate it, so we took on that project.
And then page 13 says 4.3. This is a proposed floor plan for the 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
It looks like a 1-bed, 2-bath apartment.
So there's 2 baths, right now, and then there's a picture of the 2 baths that are right next to each other. I have no idea. Each floor has 2 bathrooms for some reason. So we would take, the wall down in between 2 of the bathrooms and extend it so that there is a shower and a vanity, toilet, so forth and so on. And then on the opposite side of that would be the kitchen, which
Mm.
I believe at one time the owner that sold it to them years and years ago said that he had used it as a little kitchenette. So that's going to be a kitchenette again, but there's not going to be any walls or anything
Okay.
taken down on that part.
And it looks as though there's 2 staircases.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a staircase that if you back to the pictures on picture where the parking lot is.
Mm-hmm.
If you see those doors facing us in picture, right in the big picture,
So if we're looking on page 6, just below the main photograph.
right,
Okay.
if you can see those doors next to the
Mhm.
tree,
Yes.
those are the back stairs that everyone uses. However, if they were to use the building for clients, the front of the building, which you can see in picture, the big picture, that could be used as a waiting room or whatever they would like, so people can come in either way. And then the staircase, the second staircase would be that door on the left.
But each floor has access to both sets of staircases and two points of
Well-
egress.
The bottom floor, yes, they do, because there's a second door in the back on the bottom floor also.
Wonderful. Looks like page 14 is additional pictures. Maybe getting all the bathrooms here. And looks like page 16 is some comps.
Yeah, so I looked to see in the last year, well, year and a month, I was doing it quickly, of places that have both residential apartment on top of a commercial building.
Okay, thank you. And then the remainder of the packet is the lease agreement
Right,
between you and OCAN RF.
right. Did I miss anything?
It looks like thorough. So I just for a summary of the board before they ask their own questions. This was an existing 3-story property that was used completely for commercial uses, anywhere between 1 to 3 different commercial or community uses, we'll say. Those businesses have since relocated, and the new tenant, OCAN RF, the Opioid Crisis Action Network Recovery Fund, is looking to come in to use the property to serve the community, and it will occupy the first 2 floors, keeping them commercial or community focused. And the 3rd floor will be converted to a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment that will be used by the operators of the commercial facility for their own residents. Is there any contemplation, or would you accept a condition if the board made it that the residential use only be used by people associated with the operation of the businesses on premises? If that's a concern of the board.
Yeah, with the current lease, that would be fine, but I'd be curious of why, just as a real estate person.
Well, I'll let them ask questions. I just wanted to
Okay,
ask
okay.
put it out there just in case it is something they're interested in, then we can discuss it. Does the board have questions?
I have one. Are you going to have fire escapes?
I was not aware that it was required, especially since we have 2 sets of stairs in the front and the back. But that would be something that we would consider if that would be recommended. But again, as a real estate person, why would that be if there's a one in the front and in the back?
I believe in all, I mean, I'll obviously defer to L&I on building codes, but I believe with 2 sets of staircases that discharge to different points, they would not be required to have an additional exterior staircase, is my understanding. But that's an L&I issue, yeah.
I mean, if that's, something that has to be done, of course, we wouldn't not do it.
You'll comply with any permit requirements
Yeah,
for the building code.
yeah.
Anybody else?
I have a question. I have a couple questions. What's going on, is there a basement?
So that bottom parking lot is the basement.
Okay.
Most of that, except for the very back room, has windows. But as you can see, the slope goes up, so that believe they're using that as a storage room, and that's also the back exit to the first floor. Let me see.
So just to be clear, Ms. Richardson, what we're calling the first floor is actually the lowest level that's accessed by the back parking lot. The second floor would be the ground street level that's accessed from Township Line Road, and the third floor is what's visible as the second floor from Township Line Road.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
No, I think we,
The basement, right.
Yes, what is it currently being used for?
So the back, if you look at picture, the
page
side of the
6.
building picture, let me see what page that is.
I don't think there's a basement below.
Okay, yeah, the second picture under the main picture. There,
It just walks out.
Yeah.
Walks out, okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep,
And what
there's
is-
two doors facing
I
each
can
other like
see,
this,
mhm.
yeah.
What is suite 3, maybe leased separately in the future?
That would be the apartment. So in other words, they're leasing the 2 floors now, and when we finish, if you give us the permission to finish, then they will lease the 3rd floor separately.
Okay, so basement is suite 1, ground floor is suite 2, apartment is 3,
Yes.
okay.
And that's because the way their grant works is that they give them a certain amount to, do the commercial and community space. And then the 3rd floor is just for the owner's ability to not have that drive back and forth every day. So they have to pay for it themselves.
And would, the people that would use not the tenants living there, the people that would come to use it, they would primarily be on the first ground level floor? The ground level, the street level? For instance,
Second,
or, yeah, what do we call that, the second floor, I'm
I
sorry.
think the first and second.
First and second, because
Second, okay.
remember, they have multiple classes and counseling at the same time. The second floor has the waiting room / office. Then it has another office next to that. Then it has an open space and then the kitchen. So there's 2 offices on the second floor.
Okay, which is the ground, street level floor.
Right. But they might have a class in the middle of that open section. That's why I don't want to say that they're not going to use it for, their clients.
But no clients will be using the.
3rd floor.
No, the basement.
No, the basement,
Basement
yes, because
is a
that's an
floor.
even bigger space that they could have yoga
It
classes.
is,
Yeah.
okay, so it's the basement and the ground level floor, that would be for the clients?
Yes, the first and second floor.
Yes.
I think we're, yeah,
basement
Yeah,
is the
I
ground
think we're on
floor.
the same page.
Basement is the
Ground.
walkout floor to the
And
parking lot,
ground floor, yeah.
and the ground floor.
Right.
No, I'm saying, okay.
And
I'm
then
just
the
calling it
front
wrong name.
is on the second floor.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, it's that basement concept because we are always using, technically, we are calling the basement as the first floor.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm clear. Hours of operation?
I don't know. Now they've been doing 9 to 5, but I did not ask that, and I don't think they put it in the lease. But I believe, I can't say for sure that they wouldn't have evening classes if, something came open where I don't know, the yoga teacher can only do it at 6 o'clock. But it doesn't seem like there's going to be any parties or anything like that.
Oh, I was.
Oh, okay. I was here for the last thing and I was, trying to get in front of that and I'm like, no, we're not gonna have that problem.
Right.
Would there be any other residents staying there other than those that are on the very top floor?
No other people staying overnight
Everybody
other
else
than.
comes and goes.
Right. They're clients that they help give, skills to, living skills to, or counseling to, and then they go to their own residence. It wouldn't be a residence for the clients.
That's what I wanted to be clear.
They started to come today, and the wife was like, I'm too tired, it's gonna take us 2 hours to get home, but Yeah, I can't answer all of the questions confidently, but as far as what they told me, I'm just repeating what they told me.
I guess the other question is if this particular user doesn't come to fruition, would you still intend to market the property as the 2-floor commercial, 1-floor residential in the
Okay,
future?
so, yes, before, this client came, my mother and I had discussed, and my father had discussed, we have a lot of their grandchildren in our house. And, I think there are 2 grown and 1 who's a senior in high school. And we were going to look into this, before, because, we had it on the market for about a year. And I guess you guys know that everybody's working from home, so there wasn't as much commercial space need. We were thinking about it, but this just came, and this was one of the things that they wanted to do, and it was like, well, I'm a church girl, so it was like God was kind of in the mix saying, this is the people that you should rent it to, because we were thinking about also selling it. But, yeah, it's whatever you guys think is best, I think, would be fine. But is there a reason why you wouldn't want it to stay multi-use?
No, I just, since you're not able to, and not, this is a problem, I'm just saying, since you're not able to articulate the operational requirements of the end user, the board has to look at it as
What happens in the
in the
future?
abstract almost.
Yeah.
So if this particular user doesn't go in, this community focused user,
Right.
and Keller Williams wants to use it as their Upper Darby office, would you still have it be commercial with residential
Right.
going forward?
Right. So in other words, if, I'm working on my broker's license, if I wanted to
Good for
open
you.
a brokerage and I wanted to live above the brokerage, yes, that would probably be something that I would consider. Which is also why I did the comps of the other multi-use, because that's the thing in that on Lansdowne Avenue, there's a lot of properties like that, and on Township Line Avenue, and on Westchester Pike, which is a block away.
Any other board questions?
One more thing, the houses in between 2 commercial corners are all residential. So it is already a multi-use block. So that wouldn't be unusual to have an apartment there also on that block.
Board ready? We'll just note for the, or unless you have anything else, or I don't know if Mr. or Mrs. Richardson want to add anything, or you're good? Okay.
You don't want to add anything
Yeah,
about
he's great.
if you want to move your grandchildren in, if they move? I prefer it be both commercial and a residential. No, just because we tried to rent it that first year as commercial, right? Yeah, all commercial, yeah.
So at this point, we'll note for the record that there is no public comment, as nobody else is present. And if the board's ready to make a motion, we can make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And you will receive written notice within 45 days.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you
Be
for
with you.
coming tonight.
Yes, thank you. They said yes. He's hard of hearing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Doing a good thing. We'd like to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Second.